Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us this week at the 10K Project. This week's Bet on Black pitch is another amazing founder. We've got Dele coming to us from metaKnyts. And so you're going to hear all about the amazing work he's doing. Super, super excited about this campaign. I know I mentioned to some of you last night when we talked that when Dele had his first raise, I reached out. And I didn't get called back, but that's right. Cover your face. But this time I did. And I'm super, super excited because this is an amazing campaign. And what the work he's doing is absolutely phenomenal. So with that said, I am going to share my screen and pull up the campaign page so that we can show you guys where to go if you're interested in obviously doing your due diligence and investing and all of those things. So you should be able to see my screen currently. This campaign is on Start Engine. We don't come to Start Engine that often, not as often as we do some of the other ones. So I'm just going to spend a few minutes and walk through the campaign page for you. If you are interested in investing, they have a really easy to access Invest Now button. But before we hit that button, we always do our due diligence. So we'll go down and look at all of the information. For me, the terms are critical, right? And so this is a priced round. So the price per share is $26.79. The deadline to invest is November 17th. So there are 15 days left in this campaign. The breakdown comes out to a minimum investment of $267.90. And the minimum number of shares offered is 373. This is an equity deal. Common stock is what's being offered, right? And so you want to look at all of the information that's listed here. I always tell you guys, the founders spend a lot of time building these campaign pages, making sure everything you need to know is included here. And so please, out of respect, take the time to read through everything. If you have any additional questions outside of this evening, where you'll be able to ask them, there's always the discussion page. Every portal has the discussion page where you can ask questions and also look to see what other questions have been asked and answered here as well. And so this is a good place for you to go. You'll also see information about the team listed as well. I think that's at the bottom. I always like to show you guys.
I think it's usually before the updates, I think.
Is it?
Yeah, I think so.
Let's see. Oh, you know what? I think it might have been on the overview.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I know you guys see me scrolling through all these amazing videos. I can't wait for you to do some research and start looking at some of them yourself. Here we go. So here's the team. You see Dele there, and then here's the rest of his team. Okay. And I'm sure he'll talk a little bit about his team in his presentation. So with that said, I am going to stop sharing. And Dele, I'm going to turn it over to you, sir.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to come and learn a little bit about metaKnyts. I think it's a great time to actually be talking about it. We're all super excited about the next Black Panther movie coming out in a few days, 10 days time. And, we describe this project, our elevator pitch is, think the Matrix meets Mr. Robot on the road to Wakanda. And that becomes increasingly more relevant. And, in our view, in many ways, metaKnyts is a story. If Black Panther is a story about how we protect Wakanda and what Wakanda means to us as a community, metaKnyts is a story about how we build it effectively. So without any further ado, I think the best thing to do is let me walk you through my presentation because that's pretty comprehensive and keeps me on track. And then afterwards, I'm happy to dive into questions. So I'll just share my screen. Okay, let me just move the Zoom controls out of the way. All right. So, metaKnyts. So, our mission with metaKnyts is really about transforming ownership. I come from the crypto blockchain data space. The background of the project was that it was inspired because we were doing work around data sovereignty and data ownership and how people could have more control and ownership of their data. And we realized that it's all about ownership. And that's kind of what the whole Web3 movement is about how do we have more ownership? And for us, this is actually, a really important part of this Reg CF, because our mission is about transforming ownership through storytelling and play. And there are a lot of Web3 related projects that talk about ownership, giving people ownership. But for us, that actually means all the way up to owning the company, and that's what this Reg CF effectively allows us to do. But essentially, our mission is to really reach Gen Zs and Alphas with a new kind of media franchise that really helps them understand why ownership is important going forward. And essentially, we're really focused on delivering a vertical experience. So we are really focused on our primary franchise, metaKnyts. We get approached a lot by other IPs or other franchises to use our technology, and we've started to establish a couple of relationships around some who we will license to in the future. But we're very focused on delivering a vertically integrated experience across, really developing what we call a next generation media franchise. And that for us starts with the story, which basically is primarily initially told through comics, but evolves into a game, and the game in itself becomes a platform for a metaverse experience. We have a rich portfolio of NFTs, and we're in interesting and I'd say sort of pre-production discussions around a feature film for this, which is where we see that we'll really achieve massive scale. So, it's at the heart, as I say, think The Matrix meets Mr. Robot on the road to Wakanda. It's a sci-fi, Afri-futurist cyberpunk saga, very led by an African cast of heroes. And it's really about the why of decentralization and these new technologies, why they're important. And then we address how to use these new tools and facilities through gamification and video and gaming and using the technologies to enable the distribution of the story through these crypto media products like NFTs, for example, so that people can understand these dimensions more clearly. I think it's probably, we are a media project, so it makes sense for me to show you a little bit of what this is about. So this is our sort of intro video. It's just a minute long. That's on Start Engine, but I'll play that for you, and I think that will give you a little bit more of an immersive sense of what we're actually talking about.
Well, metaKnyts Media, a blockchain media company, announcing the release of its metaKnyts. That's a cryptographic digital comic series.
So it's set in this world called Digiterra, which is like a digital world that mirrors the physical world. And in that world, there are cyber vampires who suck people's data.
Like,
and that's
not
not accidental.
Facebook, Apple. Okay.
It's not accidental.
metaKnyts isn't just a graphic novel. It's a portal to the shifting future of your digital life, where extended reality and gaming meet the physical world.
One of the things we're doing with metaKnyts is we're releasing it with the wallet, whereby, when people sign up, they will have a self-sovereign ID.
Anything you can imagine on a playing card can be created as a digital collectible and saved in your personal media wallet.
The idea of creating a comics series where the issues are published as non-fungible tokens is really exciting, because it means that we can create collectible digital artifacts that can grow value over time.
Crypto actually allows us to own these assets independently of the platform.
It only takes a few minutes to purchase metaKnyts shares on startengine.com. You can own a stake in metaKnyts and the future of digital collectibles.
Let's move on. So let's talk about the business, kind of give it a business overview. So it's a cross-media franchise that really is designed to be a holistic, immersive, next-generation media. We raised $1 million and 70 on Start Engine in our first campaign, which was the maximum that could be raised at that time, from over 3,500 investors. That we are particularly proud about because our mission is inclusion and to basically bring financial literacy, crypto literacy, data literacy to our community at large. We ran a small sort of release. We've really focused most heavily on building IP, and as such, we've got 13 episodes of the saga developed in the can, and the second season underway currently. We've a very rich portfolio of NFTs, 6 different types of NFTs, and we've done some preliminary sales around them, where we've seen revenues of over 30K a month for that release of those. You know, the metaverse is really sort of exploding as an area, and we'll talk about the size of the market further down. But an important point, metaKnyts is actually the world's first crypto comic. We are the first comic franchise to launch as a collectible, as an NFT, as a digital blockchain powered media. And I get challenged on that every so often. And we have the receipts to show it. And that's particularly groundbreaking. I think the comic genre itself is growing in value tremendously and is driving film in many senses. And it's become the model that many NFT projects have taken in terms of delivering a comic or an animation or a franchise. But we are the first and pioneers in that space. So we have a very rich lore, particularly as we bring this into a metaverse context. We have a rich portfolio of different types of collectibles, which are really sort of anchored around this theme of storytelling, play, and identity. And, you know, that's sort of the larger mission for us, is really around digital rights and identity and data sovereignty and data protection. That's kind of the subtext and purpose behind the project in many regards. But it's also to, you know, create a great media franchise that we think is well on its way to becoming, you know, the next generation, an ideal example of a next generation media franchise. And these collectibles deliver very sort of tangible utilities. So of course there are monetary utilities, and there's a really interesting discussion that we start to have with our community around the different types of value that you have as an investor in metaKnyts media. So there's traditional investment, shares and equity, which brings a very specific kind of value and a very important one. But then the NFTs themselves also represent another type of asset. So there's a very interesting correlation between both of those. But the other thing is ownership. And for us, ownership is of immediately in terms of the IP that we distribute through the story and the saga. But also we deliver a lot of self-sovereign tools and technologies around data and identity ownership through the project as well. So that's another important thing. There are voting rights and DAO sort of capabilities for those who are more in the space. But then lots of community-oriented stuff as well. So we have what we call the Order of metaKnyts, which is, you know, we are basically invite our members, our fans, our collectors to become metaKnyts. That's sort of the mission, to become these guardians of the metaverse in many ways. And so we have Night Grid, which is like a networking capability, and Nightclub, and Night School. And the Night School particularly, you know, we're very focused on younger people, and Night School is very important. So we have a metaversity. And actually, we just completed our metaverse bootcamp with NYU, New York University. And I was asked to join the board of the Metaverse Advisory Board of NYU. So again, lots of interesting partnerships emerging around that. Our project and our collectibles in themselves are really designed to facilitate strong strategic partnerships. And we think this is going to be really disruptive. The Electric Scooter Championship is one example of a sports franchise with whom we are partnering to use metaKnyts to introduce a new sort of sports franchise in many ways. And, it's just really a sort of brand association in many ways, but it is perfectly poised to facilitate that. Immortal Studios is another great IP partner who's very keen to use our platform in their ambitions to create a similar kind of next generation media franchise. And we're partnering with them to facilitate our distribution in traditional distribution. But also universities are very key to us, and we've got a very exciting announcement that will be coming out before Thanksgiving around an HBCU network. I can't talk too much about it at the moment, but we're formalizing it at the moment. But our content will be made available to HBCU campuses, which will give us access to 4 million users and potentially make us one of the largest projects by volume, which is always an important aspiration for us. And as I say, we've already established a partnership with NYU and created a metaverse a Web3 club there. So that model we're looking now to scale and to deploy across HBCUs and kind of really get to our target audience. Also, like I say, we're introducing new technologies, future techs, as I like to call them, through what we call our Knight wallet, which is basically multi-currency crypto media wallet and a rewards platform. And the whole thing, this goes back to the sort of teach through play and through interaction. In getting our comics and acquiring them as NFTs and having them in a wallet, people essentially learned all they need to understand to be able to interact and engage with the crypto economy. And that's really important because this is really reshaping the world right now. And we are, we're on the cusp of creating some highly informed and highly educated users just from the interaction with our franchise in this regards. Identity management and self-sovereignty is, again, it's really central to us. And again, we're using metaKnyts to introduce a lot of these tools. So there's a lot of utilities that you get from this project. It's a popular term in the industry, utilities. It's like benefits that are very tangible and real that come from this project beyond just the storytelling, which in itself is hugely important. And what the thing we're most excited about and what's really sort of, exploded in the last year has been the metaverse. And, this has really been an area, our story is essentially about the battle for the soul of the metaverse. But the metaverse really is a platform that is just going crazy at the moment in terms of interest from the investment world, from the corporate world, from institutional world. And what we are introducing around metaKnyts and on the basis with these esteemed partners at the bottom is this ethical metaverse where we all have ownership and control of our data, where it's a self-sovereign space where we can essentially be safe. It's essentially a metaverse that gives us safety and protections that we haven't had in the Web 2 world of social media. And we've all seen the problems that are, just mounting with the Web 2 model from politics, etc., all the way through to, acute depression and suicide among teenagers and the like. So we're trying to get away from this toxicity to give people much more positive images of themselves and ways to get financial freedom through this crypto economy. And the metaverse is going to be a really important part of that. We've got a few innovations in this space, and I won't bore you with the details of those at the moment, but even down to, avatars in the metaverse with unique sort of protection capabilities. And invariably, at some point in the future, we will introduce a currency as well, because that's really what the space is really predicated on. And we've, in partnership with our sister company, MetaMe, we're going to be doing some really disruptive things in that regards. But we'll be introducing an M coin as part of the ecosystem, even just for rewards and for engagement going forward. So, again, we have been at the forefront of this industry, and I think we are gearing ourselves up for the next wave, the next bull run wave, which, will be in the next 18 to 24 months for sure. So rather, to give you a bit of a vision of what our metaverse looks like and our video game looks like, I wanted to just play you a little bit of that, because again, we're a rich media company, so it's important to see these things. I'll play this for you.
We need life at ease, food and trees, and NFTs, but most of all, we need to be free. Slow burn, not all hype, decompression, chamber type plan, all right? Smash those premise goals and laws. You signed up but didn't read the fine print clause. Give those fanboys pause. Fast forward, they analyze AI eyes, train, claim our prize. Most don't know, they don't realize it's all tied. Eyes glued to what you do, who you know, where you reside. Sucking your life to grow the lie. Down a slippery slope, we slide. Roll over your third eye, fight to change the tide. Rewrite, that was a lie. Good and evil energy is the fight for touches time. For privacy and die, you never knew the metaKnyts. Down a slippery slope, we slide. Roll over your third eye, battle to change the tide. Enter the metaKnyts.
Yeah, and this is a great sort of the soundtrack there is actually from one of our community members who later became an investor as well in our previous Reg CF campaign. And he was so kind of moved by the project that he actually recorded that song and kind of gave it to us to use to promote it. And that's, I think we're gathering a kind of galvanizing a little bit of a movement within certainly within the Black crypto community, the Black crypto NFT community, where we're well known effectively. So in terms of roadmap, I think, our cryptographic novel, animations and NFTs, that's pretty much all complete. Like I say, we have 13 episodes. We've got like a rich library of content, and we've only really just started to release it. We had 2 pilot episodes that we built the first campaign off of, and we then developed 11 episodes since then, of which we've only released the first one last month. So the second one will be released this month. So we've got a real good long runway of content to deliver in the can currently already. Our metaverse and learn to earn game is in development, is in alpha development, and you can see from the videos that I showed, that is all real gameplay. And it's it is a longer development cycle for video games. We are creating a high quality, high definition video game, as you can see there, using Unreal Engine 5. So it's not, there are many video game, well, there are a few blockchain video games out there that are quite basic and pixelated, and even the metaverse platforms are very pixelated. We wanted to do something that's very high definition, very immersive, very high quality, very sort of AAA-like, and that is emerging well. And we're in a very exciting place on our film and TV development. I'm hoping, we're in discussions at the moment with, can't really talk very much about it, but I will say it's one of the lead writers from within the Marvel universe, screenwriters from within the Marvel universe, to join us as a partner and to oversee the development of the script, screenplay for feature film. So that's really exciting. And I think that, with all of that, we are poised to become one of the most significant projects in the Web3 metaverse crypto media space. And we've all seen I don't know how closely you guys follow it, but you can look at projects like Bored Ape Yacht Club, which I am not a huge fan of, but they definitely have shown the potential of this space in terms of generating significant revenues. 350 million raised in one weekend from NFT, from metaverse land sales alone. And we believe our proposition is far superior to what is being proposed by them. I mean, demographically, you know, we actually we have quite a broad range, age range of customers currently. We have lots of investors who buy shares for their children or grandchildren, lots buy our comics and stuff for their children as well, or nephews and nieces, because it's all about education and literacy and digital literacy and financial literacy, which are really essential in our community. So our demographic is quite broad in that sense, but our narrative, our target focus is definitely Gen Zs and Alphas. But of course, we do attend to the broader reach in that sense. The addressable market is quite simply colossal. I mean, the numbers just get insane. You know, comics have become massive. It's $1 billion in North America alone. That's the US and Canada since 2019. Collectible comics like the last Batman Dark Knight, one recently sold for 1.8 million, 181 million for Hulk number. Sorry, 181,000 for Hulk number 57 or so. So the comics have reached a stage where they're now sort of accepted as a kind of pop art medium. And we are the first crypto comic and the first comic saga that really kind of addresses this new technological paradigm in many senses. So that's already massive. Gaming as an industry is bigger than music and film and TV combined. You know, 178 billion in 2021 and growing. And then the metaverse is just the monster that is just colossal. I mean, this 800 billion figure for 2024 is quite conservative. McKinsey have estimated that it will be a $13 trillion industry by, sorry, a $5 trillion industry by 2030. And PwC have a $13 trillion size on the metaverse by 20, I think it's 35. So, you know, we're playing in an extremely buoyant market, and that's very nascent and very young. And it's very important that we as a community start to have a presence in this, because this is the industrial model of the future. From an investment perspective, so what even already from our first campaign on Start Engine, we started at a valuation of 8 million, and our valuation today is 48.8, which we believe is pretty conservative. And, you know, with the parties that I mentioned, particularly in terms of the screenwriter, once we're able to go public with them, we're pretty confident that we're going to be able to double our valuation. But already our campaign one Reg CF investors have seen a 6x ROI on their investment. And our plan is to raise 20 million within the next 6 months. And I'm pretty confident that we're going to achieve that. So, you know, but a very important part of our model is to bring the community along. So we definitely want to have these Reg CF opportunities to bring our community along. We all know that the greatest source of wealth is pre-IPO tech companies. This is by far the most outperforming class of stock in the world. It's a common known fact in the investment community. But the challenge is that we as retail investors, because of all of the issues around you know, accredited investors, don't get opportunities to invest in these type of in these, you know, stellar sort of growth spaces. So that's what we're sort of bringing to the fore, an ability for people to get involved at the ground stage. You know, it's like an opportunity to buy Disney, you know, in the 50s, for example. That's what we think that we sort of represent and bring. This, I'm going to close out with, this is just a very short trailer for our season 1 first episode, to give you a bit of a flavor of our comic saga so that you can kind of see a little bit of how it goes. So let me play that. All right, there you have it. Thai Media and metaKnyts. I think we can take questions.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right, great presentation. Thank you so very much. Go ahead and stop sharing your screen so they can see us bigger. If you've got questions, Dr. Virginia is giving you a hand clap. I agree. If you guys have questions, go ahead and put them in the Q&A.
There we go.
And shout out to the first round investors that are already experiencing a 6x return. That's what's up.
Pretty good, right?
That's right. Getting in early matters, guys. It absolutely matters. All right. So Wayne has a question. Wayne says, so is this somewhat like a video game inside the metaverse?
In part, yes. I mean, so think of it in sort of three parts. There's the story, which at the moment primarily is in the form of comics and animations. So that's one of the things. We developed this as an IP that they call it franchisable content in the entertainment industry. And franchises in that context means that you can have one IP, one story that you can translate across many mediums. So comics are a great source material, and comics is kind of driving Hollywood at the moment in many regards. So the story itself is told through comics and animations, and then eventually will be through film, and then potentially in TV. Theater potentially even is something that has happened with some franchises in that regards. So that's one pillar. The second pillar is then a portfolio of NFTs, where you can own either the comics or the stories as these digital collectibles, but also sometimes we have artwork. So we have a great team of artists that are prominent artists within the Black crypto art community that we have brought on board to work with us to commission to produce some, they call them profile pictures, but they're all these individualized versions of one of our characters. So, and I think I've got one I can show you here. Let me just quickly, I'll just quickly share my screen. Perfect. So you can see this again, just because it's quite complicated, this stuff, and seeing is kind of makes sense of it. So this is one of the characters from our story called the Emissary. She's gorgeous. And
wow.
And really special, but you have to kind of see the detail of this. So these are all hand drawn by artists. We basically take one character from our story, and then the artists then create these different traits, and then it goes into a computer. This is kind of more akin to the original character, what she looked like. This is a slightly stylized version, but they basically create these randomized versions of it that you can then own. So each one is completely unique. And these are called profile pictures or PFPs, like Bored Ape Yacht Club is a class. This is the typical NFT approach to a project. Do 10,000 of these. We do small volumes like 1,860, but each one is unique. So you can buy one of these and you have your own one that is completely unique. None of them are the same. So that's the second pillar. And then the third pillar is our metaverse game. So yeah, in that sense, that is like a video game that is played in the metaverse, and it's a metaverse platform, so you can bring other games and other characters. And that's a whole new space that's emerging from a gaming perspective.
Wonderful. And I see in the chat, you've got a couple of your first round investors.
Excellent.
And shout out to Dean Richards, because Dean is who told me about you initially. And so he is one of your investors, and it looks like Lorraine Johnson is as well. So
day ones, love it.
Yes, day ones. Congratulations to you guys. All right. Looks like Wayne had another question. Looks like Edward may have had the similar question. So I'll read Edward's, because his is a little more lengthy. So if you are the investor, do you need a wallet? And then Wayne wants to know, is he the sole owner of his NFT wallet? And then Edward says he's been having problems with understanding NFTs, Bitcoin, especially trying to get one of his own. So let's talk a little bit about the wallet, and then also talk about some education. Is that included as well? Because there is a learning curve for many who may not be familiar with the space.
Yeah, so very true. And one of the reasons we chose Start Engine is because it's a very easy onboarding platform. We especially after, when you hit $1 million on a Reg CF, like all the platforms start coveting you to, especially when they realize you're going to do another Reg CF, because it's a pretty important threshold. And it's a small number of projects that raise $1 million or more on Reg CFs. But for us, the thing that was very important about Start Engine is that it's a very easy to use platforms, credit card, easy access, and the KYC process is straightforward. So to buy shares in the company, you don't need anything. You just need a credit card, and you can go to Start Engine, and you can just, or a debit card, you can just, or I think even ACH, you can even do it through your account payment. So that's all you need to become an investor in the project. And your Start Engine manage the share issue certificates. They give you this. I mean, technically these days people don't necessarily get share certificates, but you get a record. But Start Engine do give you a share certificate, and you have an account there where you can monitor your investments. And of course, they want you to invest in multiple projects because that's what their platform does. So you don't need anything crypto to become an investor, to become an owner of the company. But one of the things we do, and as you explore the site, you'll see that there's a variety of perks that we give. So with all of our investors, you will get an NFT for being an investor. So we'll give you a Night Card NFT. And I think, if I remember correctly, in this campaign, every investor gets like the pilot episodes as NFTs as well. So in that sense, you will need a wallet. And we're actually building our own wallet, which we'll be delivering in the future, but that's quite a heavy lift. But in the short term, there's MetaMask is usually the kind of wallet of choice, but there are a few, Coinbase, MetaMask, etc. You can download any of them. And we are helping people through that process. Now, one of the things that we did recently where we haven't quite been able to do it with the comics yet, but we have been able to with the profile pictures. And if you go to metaKnyts.com, you'll see everything there. You'll see all the different kind of things that we have there. But we enable credit card payments for the NFTs. So you can now go on to metaKnyts.com, and you can even buy one of these NFTs with just a credit card, and you don't need a wallet, and you own it, and you can see it. And because then you can then get a wallet and take custody of it. The important thing with all of this is that you should have custody. That means that no one else can take your assets away from you. You can't, it can't be that someone hacks one of these servers and runs off with your NFTs or with your assets. They're yours effectively. So you'll get more informed and more skilled in terms of all these things, but that's part of the project. So yeah, to your point, Swana, I mentioned before, we've got this night school, and I mean, already with our Reg CF, I don't know, there must be like 300 or so investors who never had anything crypto before, and now they've got wallets, and now they're active in the both in the crypto community and the NFT community. They got big collections. So yeah, it's a great thing to see the impact that we have in terms of bringing people into this space.
Very good. So Beulah, I'm not sure, I don't know that I understand your question. Reread your question and make sure you've typed it correctly. Are you asking what the investment amount is? Just want to clarify that. If you want to put your clarification in the chat, that'll be fine. I'll look for it there. The other question we have is, welcome, it says, welcome, Brother Dele. For the NFTs, are they on sale on platforms like OpenSea, or will we have to mint them? So it looks like you showed us OpenSea a moment ago.
Yeah, so generally speaking, so the simple answer, well, it's not so simple, but the simple answer is that you buy them, you mint them on metaKnyts.com. And in fact, actually, you know what, let me just share my screen again very quickly so it just all makes sense. So this is like metaKnyts.com. You come here, there's a link. These are all links, you can get linked to Start Engine or link to Amazon to buy print versions of the comic, or you buy them here. And again, that's all here. So you can buy the comics here. You buy a paperback, that will take you to Amazon. And that's an important point that I don't think you can point to any other NFT project out there where there's physical versions of the comics available around the world as well. So, I think that's a really important point to get across, because for us, we understand that the important thing is for people to get into the story. Once you're in the story, you'll become crypto activated and crypto mature. It's just a matter of time. So it's not a barrier. You should be, if you want to buy a paperback version on Amazon, everybody knows how to do that. But essentially, when you go to mint, like this is our emissary NFT, so you can mint it and you can pay with a credit card, or you can connect your wallet and mint with a wallet. Now, once you have minted it, then you then go to OpenSea, which is where you can then see it. You can then see it publicly on OpenSea, and it would be one of these here. Now, once you own it, OpenSea is basically a marketplace. So, some people do mint there, but it's more sensible to think about it as a marketplace where once you own the NFT, you can sell it in a secondary market, if you will. So here this is where a lot of the trading happens, and you get things like the floor price, what's the minimum amount that, what's the lowest price that any of these are selling for. And you'll see that here. So our floor price is ridiculously high. 69 ETH is like, I don't know, that's 769,000, something like that. Nobody wants to sell any of our NFTs, basically. It's the basic takeaway from that at the moment, because they should be collectible, and that's kind of what we ultimately want. But yeah, so you mint them on metaKnyts.com, and then you can go and then see them on OpenSea, and the world can see it. That's the whole thing about the blockchain. It's transparent, it's clear who owns what, and that can't be disputed or taken away from you.
Very good. Let's see if Beulah responded. So Beulah was saying, what is the minimum amount an individual can invest? So Beulah, it was $267.90, if I'm not mistaken, $267.90. Yeah, that's the minimum.
Yeah. And, in our first campaign, and it's an important point as well, we kept the minimum investment at $100. And that's, I think we're the largest Reg CF campaign in terms of number of investors at that previous cap at 1,070,000. And it was very important for us to make sure that we kept it open. And we ran that for like a long while, keeping it open at $100 minimum investment. And now, obviously, those people have all realized the 6x ROI. But it is expensive to do that as well. Yeah, and we had to raise the minimum just to be able to accelerate the kind of growth curve. But still, 267.90 is, is based on what you get, we think is still like quite reasonable.
Yeah, it's definitely a good threshold. What you're seeing more and more campaigns at the $500. You even see quite a few now asking for the $1,000. So anywhere underneath $5, I think of all the campaigns I see are still really, really good. I love that this is a priced round because you're seeing less of those, right? You see more safes out there than anything else. And so to see a price round was refreshing as well. And the price per share is $26.79, so that everyone knows that. Any additional questions for Dele? I've got a question for you. Sure. So why did you want to come to the 10K project?
I mean, look, this project, is really about inclusion, and, for me, I think we are community funded projects. We are a community focused project. Money is being reinvented around us right now. If you really think back historically about industrialization and how that changed the power structure of the world. And, as people of African descent, particularly, we were just cut out of that. We were not involved in the industrialization process, and all of the industrialized powers did everything to prevent us from getting involved in that. Well, this digital crypto revolution is that happening again on steroids, and everything is being reinvented. Most importantly, money is being completely reinvented right now. So we need our community in this, we need our community in active in this space, not only from a wealth building, an intergenerational wealth building kind of movement that creates more freedom and prosperity for our community as a whole, which is what is happening. And like I say, this is, if forget crypto, just tech generally, pre-IPO tech stocks is the highest performing class of stock on the planet. And all the wealthy people out there have all made huge, I mean, look at Elon Musk, this is the world's richest man, tech. So for us we need a lot more of us in this space, as investors, as benefactors of that, because that's how the industry grows. That's how the, startups, so that we can all fund more startups and grow this economy. And if we don't do that, I shudder to think about where we end up as a community going forward. So, I love the idea of Black people investing in Black companies. And I just think if we can do that, there's nothing that we can't do. Essentially, that's basically is the keys to our freedom and our liberation going forward.
Very good. And for the community, I don't know how many of you guys remember the session we did, maybe it's been 3 months ago now, by the Black futurist Brendan Moore. And he told us, what did he tell us? Black tech, right? When we asked, what should we be thinking about from an investment standpoint? His first answer, without pausing, was Black tech. And so, we've been diligently trying to bring Black tech opportunities to add to our portfolio for that reason. And this is definitely something, I think everyone should consider. Wayne said, what's your exit strategy?
That's a good question. In many ways, I started this project with a very clear path. I mean, look, I think exit is to a strategic, potentially, which could be Warner Brothers or Disney, or a media company like that in many senses. I think we have a particular advantage, one in that we have an IP that from a story perspective that is unique and that is resonating with our community. And Black Panther has shown the way, the highest grossing single superhero franchise ever, bigger than Superman effectively, right? So there's a large amount of interest there, but then also because of the whole Web3, crypto, NFT, metaverse aspect of it as well, that makes us potentially very attractive to lots of strategics. I mean, from Microsoft Microsoft have just done the Activision acquisition, so they're probably not buying anything from anyone anytime soon. But there's certainly many of the players, even something like an Epic Games or the like, are very strong candidates for an exit. But by the same token, this could grow. I mean, I think in many ways, we haven't ruled out, just continuing to grow and build up a franchise, because it starts to become something valuable to the community in that regards. And we all know, if you look at the emotional connection we all have with Black Panther, and what that has done for our community, is uplifted us all in many ways, right? But we don't own it. At the end of the day, it's still owned by Disney, Walt Disney, who was a notorious bigot, effectively, actually, if we kind of want to go back into the history of it. So that stuff isn't lost on me either. I think there will be a plethora of exit opportunities through acquisitions and sales. But I do also think that there potentially is a path through IPO and through independence and growing this into an intergenerational media franchise in that regards too.
Good. Dr. Virginia says, inclusion is my word for sure. And yes, money is being reinvented. And if we're not careful, many in our community will be left out. She says, thank you, Dele. I am impressed with your presentation and the progress you've already made.
Thank you. That's very kind of you to say. I appreciate it. You know, these words help. It's any entrepreneur, and I'm sure, you know, I've watched a few of the entrepreneurs who've been here, and you know, it's definitely an uphill struggle. As a Black entrepreneur as well, I always say it's almost like Mission Impossible. But so there's a kind of wizardry. But so I say that because I think all of these words of encouragement go a long way. They give us all a bit more renewed confidence in what we're doing, and that helps. So, you know, capital helps as well. Investment definitely helps too, but you know, encouragement does, and support is, you know, I very much appreciate those kind words.
Very good. Sauda, check again. I just refresh your browser, because I just clicked the link that we put in the chat and it takes me right to the campaign page. So refresh your browser and try again. Dean says, who are some of the artists?
We have a few. I mean, on the production side, on the comic production side, we work with a company called Comic Republic. They're Africa's largest comic production company. They're kind of like a mini Marvel in Africa. And so all of the artists there for the comics come from Comic Republic, and we just basically commission them and work very closely with them on the writing and the design. But and one of the things actually I'm very proud about in that sense is we've got, I don't know, I think 9 or so different artists that we've used across the saga. So we rotate in different artists as well. And these guys are all, you know, it's kind of like a whole new community of comic artists, kind of like early Marvel or early DC artists, but who are African, right? That we're kind of exposing to the world. So that's one group. And then we then have a crypto art division, which is led by David Lewis, who is like a great tech and developer himself, but also a collector. And so we have so far we have worked with 4 particularly prominent artists. So Tayo Damshoes is probably the most famous of them, but she's a phenomenal crypto artist or digital artist, an NFT artist, and you know, she's quite esteemed. She's got a collection called eBabes that she's most famous for, which is phenomenal work. So she was one of the artists that worked with us. Another is Chantel Johnson, another phenomenal artist, and then Nez Rocks is another great artist, and then Valerie, also Valcoholics is her handle. She worked with us in the early stages of the Emissary collection. So, you know, we've worked closely with those particular artists for the PFPs. And I think those are actually artwork, you know, I mean, they're works of art, I should say. You know, the comics are, I think of them more like media. It is art, but it's media like art. Whereas the PFPs, you know, they are works of art. They're all individual art pieces, handcrafted, hand-drawn, and then randomized by a machine. So, you know, there's a slight different nuance in that. And as you get more involved with the project, you'll kind of understand these nuances a little bit better. We play between art, media, and kind of gaming in many ways. And we're going to do some very innovative things, bringing that together with animation and film as well.
Very, very good. Any more questions? As you guys are thinking about your final questions, I'll go ahead and give my final remarks. The first thing I'll say is 2 weeks left in this campaign, right? And so you guys know how I feel personally about waiting to the last minute. I talk about it all the time. Don't do it. Stop doing it. And so, you know, it's important that we get in opportunities as quickly as we possibly can when we're interested, because you never know when the founders are going to reach their goals, right? You never know when someone's going to write the big check. And these campaigns close faster than you realize sometimes, and they oftentimes close early, even when they're towards the end, because sometimes they get to the max. And so you want to be counted as an early investor in this opportunity. As we see, this is the second round. The first round, many of us may have missed it. And so there's an opportunity here, a second opportunity, which I think is a blessing because they oftentimes don't come around, right? Second opportunities. And so the fact that we get a second opportunity, really take the time and do your due diligence. The thing I want you to do more than anything else, and I feel like a broken record, but I'm going to keep saying it week after week because this is really where the need is to share this campaign with everyone you know. Put it on your social media, tell your family and friends, text it to a few people, right? I mean, people need to see the beautiful work. I mean, we just saw that artwork, the beautiful work that Dele and his team are doing. And our people need to have the opportunity to get in early. We just saw what Dr. Virginia said, right, about not being left behind. For those of you who know a little bit of the history of Cherie and I, we actually started in 2017, I believe it was, the Black Blockchain Consultants, and our mission was to educate 1 million Black people in blockchain. And this tells me that we're getting closer to that, right? When you can turn it into art and you can turn it into gamification. Those are the things that really bring mass adoption so that we're not left behind. Those are the ways that you can educate us, right? Get in. I love the way Dele said, to get in as an investor, you don't need to know anything about a wallet or blockchain, right? But you learn it as you go, as you get more involved, right? Then you learn it as you go. And I love that as a way for us to get more involved. It is the wave of the future, in my opinion. And we need to know more about it. So Edward, I would say to you, start learning about it, right? Start, even if you learn one thing about blockchain and crypto and the metaverse, if you learn one thing a week, right? That gets you closer to not being left behind. And so share this campaign with everyone you possibly can. I'll be putting it on my personal page. Obviously, we'll be putting it in our Facebook group and across all of our 10K social media pages. We'll be emailing out the replay to all of our members who were not able to make it here live this evening. And so our job is to share this campaign, do our due diligence, and decide if this fits in our individual portfolio. But first and foremost, share. Right.
Yeah, can I just add a couple of things to that?
Absolutely.
So one thing as well, Start Engine at the moment are doing a promotion where, if we get 100 new investors, they will basically promote this campaign to the entire Start Engine community. And that's pretty powerful because I think it can really kind of bolster this. And the thing about that is that as an investor, and that's what we love about our investors. We have an aligned interest. The more we succeed, the more you succeed, the better your investment performs in that regards. And there are these multipliers. I think there is a few multipliers. I think Tawana's absolutely right. There are several factors that can just lead to it not making sense to crowdfund anymore. And to, just because you do want to get to a point where you want to kind of start to accelerate the adoption and growth. And we want scale, we definitely want to get to scale where we get a lot of our people. That's kind of one of the reasons we're working on a film, so we can get a lot of people into the space. So I think that that's really important. So yeah, anything, if we can get to that 100 new investor mark, and we're going to be on Karen Hunter's show in the next week as well, kind of on the last sort of big push. She's got 3 million daily listeners to kind of really push out on that as well.
Dele, define new investors for me. New investors to Start Engine or new investors to your campaign? I think
it's new investors to Start Engine. But you know, quite frankly, I think we will argue the case that, I mean, actually, to be honest with you, that's one of the unique things about our campaign. 84% of our investors were new to Start Engine in campaign one. And, you know, this is what I think, that there's a massive story around our social impact of bringing a lot of people who are, you know, disenfranchised from the investment world into investment, you know, and have made investors of them. We are the first investment for many of our investors in that regard. So
Jackie's saying I'm already an investor. So am I, Jackie, but that's why I asked that clarifying question, because, you know, we get around all kind of things, right? That's when your family member registers and invests, right? If you have a spouse or a child over 18, I think you have to be 18 to be able, that's when you open the second Start Engine with their information, right? There's a way to still get to the 100, right? And work around that. I think that's crazy, because if they can open you up to the network, they should open you up to the damn network. But don't get me started on that, because
I know. I'm with you. I'm with you 100.
But we know how to play the game, right? We've been chasing the rabbit for centuries. We know how to do this, right? So for those of us who are already investors, if your spouse is not already an investor, open a new account. If your child over 18 is not already an investor, open the account in their name. This is the perfect time to give the gift of equity. I've talked about that, right? It's the holidays. Nobody don't need another Xbox. They just don't need it. They just don't need it, right? We're trying to create legacy. Start giving gifts that appreciate. We just heard, and there's no guarantee, right? We know that, right? There's no guarantee. We need to say it just so that everybody can hear it. The people who invested early, yes, they're at 6x. There's no guarantee that that's going to grow. But what if it does, right? What if it does? Imagine that gift, the gift of equity, right? To be able to gift your children, your nieces and nephew, with some shares of something, right? Something they can relate to even, right? Something they can enjoy. So it becomes entertainment for them as well as investment. How wonderful would it be to open up a gift at Christmas, right? An envelope with the share certificate or some kind of a printout that shows that they all have ownership, and then to be able to start introducing them to the comics, right? And then they start wanting to go to OpenSea and learn about that and buy one of the NFTs. What could you change in their life if you just expose them in that way? And so we know how to play this game. And if we're already thinking about investing and you're already a member of Start Engine, think about how you can open a new account so that Dele can get to that 100 new investors so that they can open up that market, their whole network to him for this presentation. You know, imagine if the world and all of the Start Engine investors could be exposed to this. Because it's a lot of work to look at every single campaign, right? So when they shoot you the emails, those are beneficial, right? I know, y'all know, I know, because I'm looking at every single campaign, right? That the average investor is not, they don't have time to do that. Right. It's a lot of work to look at. I mean, you know, it's not always easy, and you're not just looking at the campaign, you're researching. All the things I'm telling you to do with the campaign page, I'm doing. And so I want to bring quality to you guys. I'm not just bringing people here because they're Black, right? That's not a thing. And so it takes a lot of time to find a campaign that resonates and that is doing something unique in their industry, and it appears that they've got it together, right? And there's a vision, right? It's not just ideation, like they're doing it, right? That matters too, right? That they're doing it. Or doing something close to, or something in line to get towards the goal. And so when a Start Engine or a WeFunder and all of those places open up their network to the founders, that's huge, right? Because they have, even if people haven't invested in a while, they have a network of tens of thousands of people that are just registered users. And that email comes across in their box and they get the eyes on it, right? And they get to decide if they want to invest. That's huge for a founder. And if we can help him get there, then that is part of why we're here, right? Is so that more eyes get on these campaigns so that the founders can raise the capital that they need. So just be strategic, right? We always have to be strategic in everything that we do. This is one of those areas where we need to be strategic.
No, I agree with you completely. And I love, you hit the nail right on the head in terms of, those kids, Gen Zs, the alphas, that's where we need to plant these seeds and you get all those perks as an investor as well. You will get comics and NFTs that you can start that journey with. But yes, I think that, it's my wife took my kids to Halloween trick-or-treating yesterday. And there's a lady at this place that they always go to here in New Jersey. And the lady's a publisher. She's the CEO of a publishing company. So rather than giving kids candy, what she always has is books. So kids can come and pick any 3 books. And, they're kids' books, Peppa Pig and, some stuff like this. But that's so beautiful, rather than feeding them with all these toxins that are going to kind of give them all these issues and go on crack with sugar, feed their minds effectively. And I think that's what, we're trying to do with this project as well.
Wonderful. Very good. Oh, another question popped in. Lucille says, what's an NFT? So Dele, just really quickly, kind of give us a brief education on what an NFT is.
Yeah, I mean, technically it's a non-fungible token, but that's a meaningless term, to be honest with you. It just, basically what it means that you see the problem with the digital world is that when you create, remember when you used to buy a CD or a DVD, you could watch that film and, the manufacturers or the artists could make a film and then print it as a DVD or a CD, and people, that's how, all of our artists became famous and successful. The problem with the digital world is that in the old digital world, once you created something digitally, it's very easy to replicate. It's very easy to copy. But what the blockchain technology has done is given us a way that we can create these digital objects now, films, videos, music, CDs effectively, and we can now encrypt them so that they can't be copied. And that means that now you have the ability to have, just like we had before, books, music, films, media effectively that you can own and that can't be replicated, so it has value. And that's what people are getting really excited about. So you are able to create digital items that you can now collect and own and that can grow in value over time.
Very good. Lucille, I hope that answered your question. Yes, that was a very good explanation. Any last questions, guys, before we say good night? Okay. Dele, do you have anything else to say?
Thank you. Thank you for, time is always precious, and for taking the time to come and even just hear about the project is hugely, it's a huge thing. So thank you very much. Thank you to Anna and team for inviting us and facilitating this and making it happen. And yeah, no, please continue to support, and worst comes worst, if you can't invest, buy a comic. It's just get the word out, as I think, as Tawana said, that's as important. It's to kind of get this. We want eyeballs, and we're still in many ways a bit of a best kept secret in the cryptoverse, and it's time for us to go mainstream. So yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us this evening. This has been a pleasure. We will do our part in helping you try to get the word out, especially these last 15 days. But even beyond that, there's a whole community that may not be interested in being investors, but they may want to be consumers and recipients of the amazing media. And so you've got family and friends in the 10K project forever.
Thank you.
So
thank you.
Congratulations. And thank you so much for taking the time to come hang out with us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
With that said, have a wonderful evening, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.